Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another live broadcast we're doing today. We first started last week with our first LinkedIn Live, but we're going again because we thoroughly enjoyed it last week, and we're going to chat some more about a video this morning. And once again, I'm joined, beaming in from Norway, nice and early this morning. James, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. How you doing, Marcus?
Good. Yeah, we've gone a little bit earlier today, but just to take on the day, we season it in proper like business style. Get there straight away, going doing it. And well, I enjoyed last week's show. It worked quite well, didn't it? Giving our first foray into the live world.
Yeah, no, I think we touched on a nice subject and got some good points out. So
Exactly. And, I was just excited to give LinkedIn Live its first dabble. And you know how much I love LinkedIn. So it's just keeping me happy, as well as hopefully sharing some good tips about video with the lovely people of social media. Well, without further ado, let's not mess about with any more chit chat today. As you'll see from the title of this video, we're talking about everything to do with video for social media. So last week we talked about general video and how to produce a video more generally, but today we're very specifically looking at social media. And as everyone who know watching this is content, especially video content on social media at the minute is massive. You can go so far with it, whether it be with your adverts, whether it be through organic content or messaging clients and customers. Video can perform really well across these. But it's not as simple as just putting a video on there. I know many people might think this. I've fallen into this trap in the early days of video on social media, just thinking if you throw a video on there, they're going to love you and they're going to fire it to everyone. There's a bit of truth in that because the algorithms will always be in your favor if you put some good video content in there. But the more video that goes out there, of course, you need to stand out and make sure you're getting your message out there properly. So we'll go over today, simplifying, giving some key tips and pointers of simple things that you can do to make sure every time you're producing video for social media, you're ticking all the boxes, producing content that people want to watch, but that also the platforms will enjoy and push out to all your clients and customers, because that's what we want. We want to get your messages out there to as many people as possible and make sure they land with the right audience. So, James, the first thing I wanted to start with today, and people, you'll think this with anything that you do in business and maybe even life, quality. We want to make sure we're producing quality content because, of course, yes, we want to throw video onto social. We want to share it out there. We want to feed the algorithms. But if it's rubbish video, people aren't going to watch it and it's going to nosedive. So straight away, the point I'd like to make initially with quality is that social media videos, you don't need anything ridiculous in terms of production. Yes, there's a place for high production content, and of course that fits within your strategy. But what I want to look at specifically today is that day-to-day video, which is sharing your message and the type of stuff you want to get out there. So what would you say, James, in terms of quality is kind of the base level of things you need to look at when you're putting together videos for social media?
Okay, so whenever I get approached about this, I always have this sort of same statement of how much time do you have?
Okay, yeah.
Because that will determine how much quality you can deliver.
Of course.
And then you're working with, if you have sort of something that needs to go out quickly, then filming it quickly and getting it out, you lower quality. But if it needs to go out quickly, then that's the card you played. You have to do it that way. If you have more time, then obviously it's easier to finesse and get the right lighting and get all of that correct. But realistically, if you just need to get something out quickly, grab it on your phone. The main thing is knowing each social media platform and knowing what sort of file size it can take, what the ideal sort of settings are for each one. I always say that if you sort of look at your market and look at how people are viewing you, are they viewing you on their phone or are they viewing you when they're on a desktop? You know, I feel like that these days is actually something that's more related to the actual business itself. I was saying it to the missus the other day. We were looking at houses. I'm like, well, you know, you start getting adverts, and I'm getting these 9x16 adverts for a house.
Okay.
But I'm on my desktop because I'm looking seriously. So I've got multiple tabs open. I don't want to look on my phone because I can't do that. I'm not just browsing, I'm looking with intent.
Mm-hmm.
So I would have much rather be hit with a 16:9 video because it will look better on my desktop. It will take up the right amount of space rather than I'm just looking at this 9:16 going, really, it should probably just be on my phone. So yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean there with the type of business as well, because if you are showing off something in more detail, for example, with a house like that, and you know someone wants to see very specific details and it's all about the visuals there, you want to deliver it in the best way to look at that. And in most circumstances, yes, that'll be landscape. But just picking back up on what I said about specific quality, and like you said, you've got to know what you're delivering it for and if you're delivering it quickly. By no means saying, okay, high-end production is no use for social media, but it's within that mix. And I think that your general messages that you want to get out and stuff that you might be converting from images that you've used previously or text-based posts and then into videos that you're using then, I think that's when you've got to look at, okay, there's a base level of quality you want to use, and this can then lead into, this is the platform for your bigger set piece videos, which you're putting the time into for your big messages. And for me, on quality, I know a few things that we mentioned last week, James, with audio. Always make sure you've got good audio. That doesn't have to be top end equipment, but like you said, one little tip there is you can even get a plug-in lapel mic that goes into your iPhone, for example. That's just going to lift the audio quality, and it's going to be so much better in terms of the experience of watching it. And little things like you said with lighting, just make sure you've got some nice soft lighting, you're not ridiculously dark, just to give a little bit of extra to it. But they're all the basics.
There's other apps as well that you can get, like I think it's Filmic Pro.
Yeah.
It gives you more flexibility with your bitrate and sort of the more technical side of things that allows you to capture sort of higher quality image from your camera.
Definitely worth having a look at those for sure. And like you said, with smartphone videos, I'm never afraid to say to someone, just start off with your phone. Film something on there, because it's about getting yourself into video and building up from there, because there's a place and there's so many different places to go with video content, building up to that higher end stuff, and it'll all have a different impact and it all can be targeted in different ways. But just start off, get your message out there like that, and then you can build up in through different avenues. But one thing I would say that can often be forgotten, and he's only thought about in many occasions when people think location is something that you only need to think about if you're making a high budget film or something like that. Oh, I'll just go and sit in any room and do it. Yes, to an extent, there's so many different locations you can use. You don't need to have a crazy set, but you do need to think about the message that you're putting across from it. If you are just filming yourself in the kitchen of your office, but you're trying to deliver a very serious message, they're not going to go hand in hand, are they? Where at the same time, if you're giving a happy, lively piece of communication and you're in a quite dark room, that's not going to go with it. So when we say location, it doesn't mean you need to be on the top of a mountain showing that you're taking on the world or you've got a Lamborghini behind you. But it means thinking of what corresponds with your message. And what comes through everything that we do say is this planning element of know what you're trying to communicate with your customers and clients and make sure everything in the video is communicating that. And it comes back to quality, as we said, with audio and a little bit of lighting, that's showing high end, professional, because I doubt any company or people watching this that are building a brand want their company to come off as shoddy. You want to look like you've got a certain level of professionalism, but at the same time, location is so important for getting across a message and giving those subtle bits of communication there. Yeah. So I think they're the things on quality that I wanted to say, because you can go to so many places with quality, but the point I wanted to make with this, with social media, is no, you don't have to start off ridiculously high end. You can build up to that, and they have their pieces in all different forms of marketing. But with social media, make sure you have your baselines of quality when it comes to planning, location, audio, and lighting. Very simple things can be done, but it's going to lift so much what your videos do, and people are going to be more likely to watch it, and they can go further on social media. Okay.
Just
Secondly,
just on that
sorry, go on, James.
Last little thing. consistency with
Yes.
quality
Yeah.
is super important. If people start watching your content, they want to, you need to make them comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, as much as we say, oh yeah, make it engaging, make it sort of shock sort of them to get them to view. Yeah, but if you've got consistent viewership and people are coming consistently to you need to show them the equal consistency in delivery.
Sure.
Whether that's delivering the same amount of videos or, well, I would always say just make them all the same quality, if not higher. So if you step up the quality, keep stepping it up. But never go below your quality without real justification. Now, obviously that does have a time and a place. If you film consistently in your office and you have your one little area you've got set up where you go and that's where you film, that's cool. That's great for consistency. And then one day you're on a train and you have this thought that you just want to get out, then yeah, that's the beauty of social media, and that's the beauty of sort of what we can do with our modern day technology. But looking for consistency in that quality is what's really important.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I think when you say consistency as well, it's applying techniques that people have used for marketing for years with other things, whether it be SEO, building up consistent quality content to boost your website, or whether it be your email marketing where you're delivering a certain type of email or types of email in a tone of voice. Apply all this to video. I know video can seem very haphazard because there's so many places to put it, but if you apply those frameworks and strategies that have been so successful to your marketing in the past for different forms of content, the same applies to video, is making sure that you know who you're targeting, consistent with quality and message, and you'll get the same type of results from doing that. Okay, well, this brings us on and something that we touched upon just at the start of this chat. And it's thinking about the end product, knowing exactly what type of video you are producing. And in terms of social media, this is very important because there's so many different types of video you can produce. If you're producing a TV advert, for example, you know what aspect ratio it's being delivered in. You know it's going on a TV. There's only so many different places you could go. It's going on a TV, whereas this could be watched in portrait, could be in square, landscape, it could be live, it could be within an advert. So many different types of video. And last week we talked about repurposing, and there's no reason why you can't attack all of those different platforms and different dimensions and ways of using it. But it's important to know what you are doing before you start the video. So what I would say is, much like I just mentioned with your wider marketing plan, know exactly who you're targeting and what you want out of the video, because this will bring into what you said, James, of whether you're doing it portrait, for example, or landscape. And these sound like very subtle, small things. But when it comes to the technicality of putting it out there, if you're running an ad campaign, you've not got your content or your creative that is optimizing the right way, it's not going to perform well. So what I would say straight away there is think about who you want to see it, but more specifically, where you want them to see it. If your main target audience is on Facebook and they're going to see it through adverts, make sure you do your research into what type of dimensions you're going to use for that. Would you say, James, that that is definitely helpful when it comes to a kind of technical perspective when putting the video together?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely, it's definitely important to know what sort of aspect ratio you have to put out, obviously. And knowing, these days you can get so much information from Facebook, from Instagram, from your website on how many people are viewing it, where people are viewing it from, what devices they're using to view it.
Yeah.
So if you have a 90% hit with mobile phone usage, you probably should be thinking about vertical video.
Definitely.
In some ways, there are ways you can get around some aspects of it. You have the square format for Facebook and Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
That is it works for both phone and it doesn't look as bad on a desktop, so it works quite well. You don't necessarily get black bars and all of that stuff. So that is kind of a good aspect ratio for if you're not too sure where it's going. But at the same time, I would just say you lose a lot of information. It's the smallest of all of the aspect ratios. You can't really show a high amount of detail in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're looking at a simple little square with 3 key points, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. But it just shows there are options when it comes to social media videos. And I would say with Square is don't necessarily lead with thinking you're shooting for Square, but know that it's there for your secondary purpose. So, for example, if it's a YouTube series that you're putting out there and you know that your audience is on YouTube, yes, get your landscape videos out there, but know that you can then cut these into Square and use those as your kind of secondary videos across different platforms. What I would say, though, and I think it's a really good point what you bring up there about the stats that, for example, Facebook give you about your audience and who's watching your video. The social media platforms want you to put quality video on there. Facebook has had a chip on its shoulder for years about being YouTube, and it wants all of the people on YouTube to be putting videos on Facebook. So they will literally hold your hand through the process and make sure you give them the type of video content they want. So go on that. There'll be so many stats telling you who's watching it, what dimensions they're watching it on, what devices they're looking at. Make sure you look at all this information, gather it in, because they're giving it you for a reason. They want you to put the video content on there that suits them, and they'll reward you for it. If you hit those types of content that Facebook are after, they'll bump it up the newsfeed and fire it out to more people, which obviously is conducive to your marketing campaign, and we'll all be happy at the end of the day. So make sure you do that research, and also do some test campaigns. If you've not done much in the past and you don't have that much info to go off, do a few tests. Throw some different types of video out there. Paid ads are a good way of doing this as well if you've got budget for it, because you can obviously target very specifically with that. So the feedback you'll get be a lot quicker, and also you'll have a lot more information to do that. But the same can apply with organic. Cut some videos in different dimensions, do different types of messages, and just see how they perform over the course of a month. And off the back of that, you can then target your next campaigns to what's performing well going forward. So that brings us onto the audience, James, and I want to talk about this a bit more, going away from the technical there to something a bit more stylistic when it comes to producing a video, is that social media platforms, even though they have very similar features, are very different in their audience. So, for example, LinkedIn, one of the platforms that we're streaming on today, very business orientated. Yes, they have video and they have a lot of the features Facebook do, but people go on there to do business. People do business on Facebook, but it's a bit more of a casual environment, a bit more friendly. So the tone that you would take from any kind of marketing would be different on the two. So what would you say when it comes to actually producing a video, putting it together, you've got to consider with regards to the content of the video when you're thinking about the different platforms?
I think it depends on the sort of video you're outputting.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a general brand video, then obviously you want your brand to be consistent, and that shouldn't change for the platform.
Yeah.
And obviously that with consistency, it saves time and effort, realistically, keeping it consistent between all. It also, you know, is good for people to see you the same way as they see you on Facebook, as they see you on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if you're producing sort of very like, say you have an online shop,
mm-hmm.
and your main traffic is from Facebook,
yeah,
then you're gonna go in with the more casual, more friendly, more interactive manner than, say, you are a IT consultant selling solutions on LinkedIn.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not gonna go in with so how was your day today? Let's you know, have some cake. Like, you're gonna go in with, this is my solution, this is what I do, this is why, this is how long I've been doing it. You know, more information rather than casual.
Yes, absolutely. And you know, I agree with that. And it's like you said earlier, with consistency across the platforms. But what I would say is, if you can, and if your audience very similar across them all, yes, keep some consistency. But if, for example, you are a business which does 80-90% of your business on Facebook, and you have a bit of a network on LinkedIn, don't be afraid to double down some of your content to really be focused on Facebook. There is a danger that you can just be a bit too generic across everything. Mm-hmm. And that would work for some people. Like you said, if you have a very similar audience across all of the platforms, yes, produce it in the same way. But if Facebook is more of an informal network for you, you have casual kind of conversations with people, and it's a bit more like that, yes, target some more videos towards that, and you can always produce something separate if it's not delivering for you. So it's all about knowing audience, specific platforms, of course, but also knowing your audience. And this kind of ties into some more of the general rules of video we were talking about last week. Is before you are filming your video, for example, this that we're doing now, a live stream, we've got to think about the audience that we're doing. We're not just telling one of our mates who has sent us a text, oh, can you help me out with this social media video? I'd speak to them in a very different way. So I'm speaking to you now. I'm broadcasting across social media. Got to give a bit more detail and, of course, explain a bit more formally what we're doing. So that's what you've got to think about when you're producing these videos. And again, from a technical perspective, it's going into your stats, knowing your type of audience, and also looking back the type of feedback you've gotten on posts and engagements on social media in the past. So if you've delivered a lot of posts, which are just images in the past, and you got very friendly, informal comments on that, carry that tone of voice into your video. So if you know that your business associates are engaging with you on that friendly way, make your tone of voice like that in the video. But if you've got a very formal business where it's very professional and people are engaging that way with you on social media, well, speak like that in the video. And it's just knowing those things. And I'd say that is very important. Would you say you find that as well, James? Is that there can be a bit of conflict in that when people think, for example, and this is one I'll see the most, is someone doing a video and thinking video is formal. It's a very, right, I need to deliver the information. I need to kind of get it in there and show professional. But actually, their brand is quite a fun, lively thing. And if those two things clash against each other, especially on social media, it can do more harm than it could do benefit.
Yeah, if you're not comfortable on camera, I have this all the time whenever I run interviews. You get someone who's just been told like 10 minutes ago that they're going to be in front of the camera for this company video. They come in, they sit down, and they're like, why am I here?
Yeah.
What's wrong? Like, what do you need me to say? And it's like, okay, right, well, let's take 5 minutes, let's chat. You know, you put them at ease. You sort of just get them talking naturally. And just, you know, interacting as they would. And, you know, those always come out 10 times better than the sit down, answer, done. You know, you need to get the character across as well.
Well, this comes back to what I opened the video with and talking about quality for social media, is that, yes, there's so much to be said by using video over static images, for example, in terms of content and the boost that you'll get. But you can fall into the trap very easily thinking just by putting a video on there, it's going to be much better than another form of communication. This is still your communication as a business, and how you represent yourself in the video is how you'll be seen. And even more so in video, because obviously you're capturing a lot more detail with sound, with audio, with the visuals as well. So think about how you want to see it as the audience. What message would you want to get? And if you're putting someone in front of camera, or you are giving a view of, say, your office, which is a bit shoddy, not prepared, not really into it, well, that's how it's going to look. You wouldn't put a graphic out there which has just been thrown together in 2 minutes, looks a bit trashy and doesn't fit with the rest of the standards of your brand. And like you said, James, consistency, you've got to keep that. So how you communicate with your clients normally, whether that be through emails, whether that through image-based posts, make sure you get that into the heart of your video by anyone who's appearing on it. And like I said, it comes down to audience. What do you want your audience to get from it? Make sure that is in everything you do as the video. Okay, we fly through these, James. We're nearly 25 minutes we've been rolling now, but there's another big topic that I wanted to get onto. And this is so important on social media, where we're getting thrown messages at us left, right, and center, whether it be competition from big news outlets who will take our feeds up, or whether it be small brands, whether it be your friends. They're all vying for your space on your Facebook feed. And LinkedIn, you got so many connections on there vying for your attention. You need to do something which is actually going to cut through and communicate. So what I'd say is message is so important when you put the video together. Yes, quality. Yes, you got to make sure you deliver it in the right format for your specific social media platform, but they're all technical aspects. message is so key. So what would you say, James, when you're thinking about the message you want to deliver, are the main things that you need to plan in advance to make sure that your video is going to cut through on social media?
Two things really come to mind is keep it simple, make it clear, and then make it clear from the get-go. Don't make a 2-minute video and then have the message at the end. The message has to carry on. You know, it has to be the first thing they hear and the last thing they hear. It has to be throughout the whole video. And it has to be simple and easy to grasp.
I think what you just said there, I think simple, yes, and then how you've described it there is very simple and clear and exactly how you should be doing it. Get your message out there straight away. Social media, even though there's a place on social media for long form content, the stuff that you're throwing out on your feed or pushing out in adverts is not the place for that. You need to, if you're putting long form content out there, fantastic, but that's something to build up to. What I'm talking about is your day-to-day communications. And James, you've hit the nail on the head there. Get that message out straight away. And also I'd add to that is that don't need to put any extra stuff on there that you don't need within your kind of same, with your day-to-day marketing. For example, I know I keep laboring this, but saying if you're sending an email out to somebody, you wouldn't then write your message and then go off on a tangent for 500 words and then come back to it again, because you'd read that and like, oh, I've got a 1,000-word essay here about, I know they were telling me about, oh, you've got 10% offer going on. No, your core message is the same with video. Trim the fat from it. Make sure you get into that core message, because all those shorter videos then support your bigger set piece content, which is going to do so well on YouTube. You can also place it on your other platforms as well, like Facebook and Instagram, and build up to it. But when you're getting those messages out, like James said, start with your message at the beginning of the video, end with it, and make sure everything between it is relevant in communicating your brand message, showing the quality of your company, and also contributing to that one very specific message that you've got there.
And the great thing with video is you're not just working with text or just working with audio. You're working with visuals. Yeah. And the visuals can complement everything in such a great way. Say we're talking about a company that's, you know, we pride ourselves on our efficiency, our hard working, and getting the job done, right? And you film that, and in the background you see everyone sat at their computer or just interacting or, you know, working hard to get the job done. You don't have to say that you work hard to get the job done. People are seeing that through the visuals. It's subtle, but it is informing and influencing, really.
Exactly. And without being a bore on this, message does need to come through and everything, like you said, through the visuals. And if you can look through all of your video and think, okay, does that visual contribute to the message I'm getting across? Does that piece of audio? Then you're onto it. If it doesn't, get rid of it. It can go in another video. And that is the absolute beauty of social media, is that you can, video content can keep coming and keep coming. So if you spend a day filming, say you just want to get a collection of videos for your brand, and maybe that's based around a big overview, but other shorter ones that go with it. If one piece of content doesn't fit one video, that's fine, because you've got another video that can come off the back of it. That's why shorter to the point messages are a lot more effective, because you can spread them out over other ones and then add them together for more joined up ones. And you've got your technical aspects of more content you can put out there, which will always bang on about, always encouraging you to repurpose and put some different pieces of content out there. But you're making sure you're hitting that message. And if you can build downwards like that, you can build back up. So get all of your stuff that you put together, chop it really tightly into core messages you can put out there, and then you can mix up and be more artistic in the bigger stuff. And that's what I would definitely round up on with message, is making sure that you know before you film and as you are filming what the message is, but when you're putting it together, it all links to that.
And I think just a final sort of point on that.
Yes.
And I know I've been hammering home, I don't know why I've got this on my head today, but consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Save those videos and look at them a year later, 2 years later, to see both how you've maintained consistency, if you have, or what you've changed.
Yeah.
But also you can see the message and see if your message has changed over this period of time, which then opens up to you being able to repurpose that content into revisiting that, look, we've been consistent from this year on this message, or we've learned this is what we thought, now we're here. But that's more content to generate.
Absolutely. Yeah, and spot on there. And I think you're allowed to keep banging on about consistency, because that is really the key. And we could have sat here for half an hour and just list you all different types of social media content there are, but I'm sure you've seen them all, and that's the beauty of it. There's loads of different creative ways you can go. But these overviews and little tips we've given you here is just making sure that everything you do, you've got a platform to look at it. James says, maintain that consistency and ensure when you are putting a video out, it's hitting everything you want it to and you're getting the most out of social media. And that's the key. Be as creative as you want, be as creative as you can. We'll always encourage that, but it always comes back to these beginning things. Make sure you're planning it correctly, make sure you got those technicals right, but most of all, make sure you know what message you're delivering and who you're delivering it to. And if you can get that consistently going out across social media, you'll make the most of the setup that they've got. They'll love you for putting video on there, and you'll start getting the benefits from it. And you'll find that these will maybe overtake some of the old methods you've used within your digital marketing mix, and video can become more prominent within that. And that kind of rounds up everything I wanted to say about producing videos for social media. Is there anything else you wanted to add there to close us off, James?
I think we've touched on everything quite nicely, really.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, thank you once again for having a little chat with me this morning, James. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I'm sure we'll be banging more messages out there over LinkedIn and Facebook Live very soon. And you know what? I've even had a little meta idea in my head this morning that I think one of the weeks coming up, we'll talk about live video within a live video and really blow everyone's mind. So everyone who's watching, prepare for that. We'll have an Inception style live stream coming up for you very soon. But I hope you've enjoyed that one. I hope you found it useful, and you can go away and either enhance the videos you've already been producing for social media, or start now and build up your content that you're putting out for. As always, if you want to get in touch with either of us, just drop us a message. We're always happy to give some tips and advice on how we could help you out producing videos, and we'll always enjoy to chat about that. But thank you, James. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and we'll speak to you all again next week. Bye-bye.
See you.